everyone. Welcome here on this Sunday, September 14th of 2025. As you can see, I'm in a beautiful woods behind me. I'm in Arizona, actually the Jacob Lake Inn, which is the northernmost gateway town to the Grand Canyon. And this location, many of you know, has suffered a tremendous loss in the last few months. Not only landmark structures, but a firefighter that was on the job sadly lost his life last week, 70-year-old Hank Hester. And it's heavy on the hearts of the folks here for a good reason. This has been an incredibly taxing two fires, the Dragon Bravo fire and White Sage fire. And we're going on the 10th week now. Wildland firefighters are rotating in. It's been an incredible journey for those telling their stories about exactly what's happened. First, of course, the human toll is the most critical and just weighing heavy on hearts of folks. Let's take a closer look. Compliments of KUTV, Liz Kelleher.
Officials say Hester was removing hazard trees when he suffered a cardiac incident. Paramedics on the line responded quickly but could not resuscitate him. Incident Commander Matt Rao said, quote, "Our deepest condolences go out to the Hester family and friends during this very tragic time. Hank is a member of our wildfire family and will be deeply missed." Firefighter advocate Bobby Scopa says long shifts, difficult living conditions, and time away from family can be taxing.
The impact of these kinds of fire seasons on everyone's mental health is it's severe. It's severe. And, our folks are suffering.
Crews often work long hours for weeks at a time with little rest and no backup.
Our workforce depends on having some downtime. We don't have enough people.
Scopa, through her work with grassroots wildland firefighters, is advocating for more mental health resources for wildland firefighters, especially as fire seasons turn into fire years.
We have got to do a better job reaching out to the firefighters. It's got to become part of the culture that we're interested in taking care of each other and we're going to look out for each other. And the agencies have to make it easier for our folks to get assistance.
Hank Hester was 7 years old, and his wife Janet says the small town where he's from, Priest River in Idaho, is taking it pretty hard. And understandably so. He was just here a few days before he So, 70-year-old Hank Hester was known in this really tight-knit community, and rightfully so. He was only here for a few days from Idaho working on the fire before he had a cardiac arrest, and paramedics tried to revive him on the scene, and sadly they were unable to do that. We have a press release as a result of what's been happening here, and they say that he was on the line of duty and collapsed while performing suppression repair on the Dragon fire near the Grand Canyon's north rim. The United States Fire Administration said paramedics initiated CPR at the scene September 8th, but Hester sadly could not be resuscitated. The suspected cause of death is a cardiovascular emergency. Officials say Hester was actively supporting hazard tree removal operations that are still going on here. We're going on the 10th week when the emergency occurred. His wife, Hester, described him as a firefighter, logger, and entrepreneur, above all else, a family man. That's compliments of Creme TV. And as they continue their work in what was a beautiful procession for Hank Hester, with firefighters remembering him with heavy hearts, of course, because they too are here rotating in and out, working long days, many of them exhausted. And they performed a lovely procession the other day. It was just beautiful to see them come together, not just wildland firefighters, but the whole firefighter community in general remembers, and they saw folks from everywhere paying honor to Hank Hester and remembering what it's like to be on scenes like this, not just for weeks on end. It's going to be over 2.5 months now. And of course, those who work close to these kinds of efforts understand the kind of toll that it takes. And no one knows more than obviously friends and family like Janet. And Janet was reached by phone to get some of her reaction during this difficult time. And here's what she had to say.
Hester's wife, Janet, says the loss of her husband is hitting hard for the small community in Priest River, Idaho, saying he grew up in a logging family and loved the outdoors. Janet says Hank had been in Oregon for a few days working on a different fire before going to the Grand Canyon just about a day before he passed away while doing hazardous tree removal operations.
Now, like you, I was asking the question, how do you go from fire season, like we saw in that earlier piece? Why is it fire season is going to fire years now? And to such a degree, how does a fire start? Let's retrospect back to about a month ago. And before we knew it, there were crews coming in from out of state, over 1,000 firefighters at one point. Still to this day, we have hundreds coming in to try and maintain what's happening, the cleanup like Hester was doing. And I think Brian Webb from Phoenix did a really good job of taking a look at, how does this thing get so out of control so quickly? Here's a look.
It is critical fire conditions, and our firefighters are doing their best day and night, working 24 hours around the clock to try to contain it.
The Dragon Bravo fire is now considered a mega fire as it's grown to more than 105,000 acres since lightning sparked it on July 4th. The wind-whipped fire has burned more than 164 square miles. That is roughly the size of the entire island nation of Barbados.
This is an historic fire. It ranks now as the top 10 largest fire ever to burn in Arizona.
Mother Nature providing setbacks for the 1,200 firefighters on the front lines.
Today is the worst fire weather that we've seen since this fire started. We have red flag conditions on the fire today, and that means high heat, high winds, and low humidity.
Southwest Area Incident Management Officer Lisa Jennings said Thursday marked the 8th straight day of historically dry conditions. And there's another concern. The fire is burning so hot, it's spurring the formation of fire clouds that can create their own erratic weather systems.
We've also had a few very big days here where we've actually had a little bit more moisture in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. And that's allowed the fire column to actually develop what's called pyrocumulus. And so that's like a cloud that basically forms on top of the column itself. And that can be very dangerous because when you're lofting all of this debris from the fire and the column contains all this moisture, if something happens and the fire activity weakens for a moment, you can have that column collapse.
The incident meteorologist says while a column collapse hasn't happened at the Dragon Bravo fire yet, if it does, it could cause the fire to spread even more rapidly.
She was talking about how what the staffing issue is, of course, so critical in an operation like this, an ongoing operation, not just, like I say, for a few weeks. We're talking about months here now. And rightfully so, to be monitoring it around the clock, 24/7. We have crews rotating in all the time. And that's necessary in this kind of work. Another story that's emerging, though, I have to say, in having an opportunity to talk with locals and people who are workers really coming in and out, this is the hotel, the only accommodation in the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, Jacob Lake Inn. And what we're hearing is the community opening things like they had never had to face before. We understand there was a fire a few years ago, but nothing to this magnitude that we're seeing now. And amenities, a gas station, even this is the only place. I was talking to a gentleman this morning who was saying this is really the only place people can get food is Jacob Lake Inn on the North Rim. And so the story, albeit overwhelmingly and incredibly sad, particularly when we're talking about human loss like Hank. This is really starting to turn into an incredible multi-agency organizing, coming together for the best efforts of trying to open things up and get us back to normal as you possibly can with such a devastating fire of this degree. And for all intents and purposes, that appears to be happening. I mean, traveling and having free agency and space and being able to go into the Grand Canyon is obviously limited. And we're going to take a closer look in this next story from Brian Webb. But overall, it's quite impressive to see people coming together with such enthusiasm and positivity to try and make it as operational as possible as soon as possible. I mean, we're in fall now. This is the third most visited national park, close to 5 million a year. I mean, how do you go from that to what they're facing now? It's an incredible story. So once again, this is a look back about a month ago, and more details on the devastating loss of this historic landmark, the Grand Canyon Lodge. Take a watch.
Some 50 to 80 structures now confirmed lost, all destroyed by the so-called Dragon Bravo fire, which quickly scorched at least 5,000 acres, and the larger White Sage fire exploding to tens of thousands of acres after a lightning strike Wednesday. The Grand Canyon hosts the nation's third most popular national park, last year with more than 4.9 million visits. The historic lodge there, constructed nearly 100 years ago, served as a mountain oasis for millions, the only real lodging inside the park on the more remote North Rim, now destroyed by flames.
Holy...
Crews racing to contain out-of-control flames, tearing down a piece of Americana, cutting off access to one of the world's great wonders. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Another positive story I noticed coming out here as I've been here. I got here yesterday, and I'm getting an opportunity to talk to many people. And something unexpected, which you may not be as surprised as I am when I get an opportunity to talk to folks about these kinds of devastating tragedies, and these to this degree, and the amount of manpower that it requires. And I got a comment last night that said, those particular people don't have to be there. It's not just a job for them. They love what they're doing. They love being wildland firefighters. And as I got an opportunity to spend more time with these folks, they're on the front line of what is not just a job. I mean, this is high risk. You start to learn about another story emerging, which is quite inspiring. This isn't just a 9-to-5 for a lot of these people. I mean, it's their jobs. But they love their jobs. And so I want everyone, if you can, to keep them in your prayers as they, not just risk going to the office and see you later, honey. These folks are really trying on the front line in high-risk situations to try and get communities like ours back together as soon as possible. And that really is something to recognize, especially as we're remembering Hank Hester and his wife Janet and his family. I wanted to remind you that they do have a GoFundMe page. If you're able to donate, that's lovely. All you have to do is go to GoFundMe.com and put in the name Honoring Hank Hester, Fallen Wildland Firefighter. Anything would be much appreciated. Last time I checked, it was around $3,500 that's already come in. Please keep these folks in your prayers this Sunday as you're enjoying your family and friends. And as we heard in recent days, hug the ones that you love. Really cherish the time that you get to spend, the quality time with the quality people that you love so much on this Sunday. Thanks so much for popping in. You guys take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.